morning, everyone. It's Wednesday at 11, exactly, ish, 11:01, close enough. And that means
Click
it's
the button.
time for Elevenses with the reps at Diesel Bookstore. Welcome, everybody. Every Wednesday we get together here in our little Hollywood squares, our Brady Bunch crowdcast um, boxes, and we meet with our wonderful publishers representatives and our booksellers. Yeah. And we talk about books, oddly enough. The upcoming releases that everybody wants you to know about, recent favorites, sometimes old favorites. We have a great time. We go down rabbit holes, but it's really exciting to talk about all of these books because it's been an amazing season, actually. Um, and there's been so many fabulous books to talk about, and it's just nonstop. It just keeps going. So I was going to tell you about what's happening at the store in the upcoming week, but I can't access the link to tell you about it. So Joey's going to post it actually right now. And
Yeah,
so yeah,
I
we've
can
we've got a lot of.
I can
Oh, or you can
download this
actually tell
one.
us about it. Tell us about it, Joey.
Yeah. So let me add the little button, what's happening,
There it is.
and
Yep.
then tell you that tonight we have Kathleen Kaufman discussing and signing the entirely true story of the fantastical mesmerist Nora Gray. Wow, that's a mouthful of a title.
I
And
love me a
she'll be in
mesmerist.
conversation. She'll be in conversation with Joe Kaplan, and I don't know much about the book, unfortunately, but it's like magical realism, kind of. I guess it says feminist gothic. So, um, you know what? That's worth reading. Let's go.
That's tonight at 6:30. And we have more events upcoming. Joey's posted a little box there, and you can click on that and see into the future. All kinds of fun stuff coming up. All right. So who's joining us today to talk about books? Well, we have Will Gawronski from Columbia University Press Consortium. Thank you, Will. And we have the lovely Shannon Grant from Simon and Schuster. And I don't feel like we see either of you two much or enough. So I'm really happy to have you both here today and doing a bonus book as well. So we're gonna hear a lot about your books. And also stepping out from behind the curtain, Joey is here. And I love it when Joey joins us on camera so that he can really scramble with posting links and talking at the same time. It's always good. And I will also be a bookseller today, as I am every day. I've got a couple of books I want to talk to you about as well. So since we've got a lot on deck, why don't you lead us off, Will?
Hey everyone, nice to be here again. Um, so the last time I was on here, we had a little crowdcast problem and we used Zoom instead. So I'm not sure if I'm going to repeat two books that I talked about then. Is
They were
basically what I'm
great
saying.
books. And they
We'll
were
kind of,
great books. And if anybody missed them, yes, because we weren't able to post that one. So I'm glad that you're talking about them again.
oh sure. And these are all the books I'm going to talk about today are forthcoming. So no doubt I'll talk about these two probably a third time when they actually finally do come out. Um, So my first book is from Duke University Press, and it's one of my favorites of the season. So this is coming out in August, and it's called Bear With Me, A Cultural History of Famous Bears in America. Look at that
This is
cover.
so good. I love this book. I don't think you had a book last time. So
Yeah, so
a
now I do,
physical
so
book.
you can
Yeah.
see it. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a little, slightly, I guess, a little more orangey rather than yellow as it looks on the image there. But anyway, I just love this book. It's so interesting. It's a history of bears and sort of bear fascination in our culture. So it begins with the very first chapter is about biblical stories about bears and European fairy tales and bears in other cultures. But most of the book is about American fascination with bears, and a lot of it, as you can imagine, includes the movement westward and Western expansion and how that's tied in with bears. And it touches every possible thing you could think of that has to do with bears. So there's a chapter on Teddy Roosevelt and the national parks, the teddy bear, which is kind of related to Teddy Roosevelt. There's stuff about Smokey Bear, who's on the cover, the whole chapter on that, and the imagery of that. The notion of people who want to live with bears, so from good or bad, starting with like Grizzly Adams and with Timothy Treadwell, who's the poor guy from Grizzly Man, the movie. There's a chapter on gay bears, and that sort of aesthetic of that. There's a bit about how the sort of dominant image that we always have of climate change is that sort of sad image of the polar bear standing on the piece of ice, just floating around. So how it's a symbol for so many things in our culture. And it's funny. It's full of rich information. It'll have great illustrations. What I've got here, it's like not really going to help that much because it's just little things from the galley, but it'll give you an idea that it really does have some fun stuff. There's Queen Elizabeth with Paddington Bear having tea. So there's that. Here's some stuff about Grizzly Adams. My favorite anecdote that I think I shared the last time, but I'll say it again, that I learned from this book is related to Grizzly Adams, who, having not grown up in the West, I didn't know that Grizzly Adams was a real person. I thought he was a TV character, but apparently he was real. And the California state flag that has the bear in it, I always thought it was just a generic, bear of just no particular bear. It actually was a specific bear that was Grizzly Adams, one of his favorites that he had captured and trained, named Samson. So if you want a little anecdote, there it is, that the bear in the flag is Samson. So a wonderful book. It's coming out in August. I think it's just going to be a big hit. So good luck.
I'm so glad you decided to talk about this book again, Will, because I love this book. And when you talked about it last time, I was like, oh, I have to have that book. So I looked it up right away. And I love that is one of my favorite anecdotes as well about the bear. I've always been sort of enchanted by the bear on the flag. And the bear as the symbol for California. It's a great book for that, for California also. And then I didn't know that either. And Amanda's got a little rainbow bear down there. There's the Care Bears. I mean, bears are really ubiquitous, and even if we don't realize it, And anyway, this is a fabulous book. And I see, Joey, you said that you were doing bear puns yesterday. I think it'll be, especially because I don't know, it feels like every week or every other week there's people are posting videos of their pools with the bears, just taking a dip and climbing over. So I think this will be a good one, and it'll keep going, as it should, because it's really great. So I'm glad you decided to talk about this one again.
I didn't know it was actually shipping, so glad to hear that, Joey.
Yeah.
Here's a picture of a guy in a pool.
So cute.
Right, there you go.
So on sale now, everyone. Yeah, you can purchase it right there. Thank you, Will. All right, Shannon, gonna go. You've got a real powerhouse of books today.
Yeah, we have really good stuff coming, and I'm very excited about my first pick because I know that you're a big fan, which always makes me happy to talk about something that I know that you read and loved. It is Daniel Kraus's new book called Angel Down that went on sale yesterday, if I'm not right or mistaken. So this is, it's kind of hard to explain, but he wrote Whale Fall. Sorry, I have a kid in here washing dishes. You need so summertime, you guys gotta love it.
Oh yeah.
So he wrote a book called Whale Fall, which was kind of a sleeper, I don't want to say sleeper hit. It kind of really exploded and to a height of popularity that I wasn't expecting. But it has a lot of fans, and I'm very
it was a really slow starter, Whale Fall.
Yeah,
I love that book. I love that book. I was like, well, I didn't even know how I felt about it, actually. I needed to talk to somebody about it after I read it. And that I think transferred. Other people started picking it up and having the same
Yeah.
reaction. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. It was a slow build, and it just like it picked up steam, and it was like a real word of mouth kind of novel, which I love. But this one is, and I see Amanda, she's here, and she's a big fan and says so epic. And it's really, I mean, it's not an easy book, friends, but it's the gist of it is that it is set in the trenches of World War I. And it is a group of men who are sent to go kind of like euthanize a fallen comrade who's moaning and yelling in pain, so to kind of make sure that everybody else is safe. And it's just told in this one stream of conscious, for better words, sentence, which sounds crazy, but it's genius and brilliant and so well done that you kind of don't even realize that it's happening. But it's so his writing is so visceral and urgent and like beautiful and also funny at moments. I mean, it really just strikes to the horrors of war. It turns out when they get to the trench and they find it, it's a fallen angel, which is where the speculative slant of his writing comes in. But gosh, I just really haven't. It is so epic, like Amanda says, and the writing is so powerful. And I feel like we're reading about war and tragedies and all these things all the time, but you really can desensitize to the horrors and the things that people do to each other and what it's like to live through that. And oh God, I just loved it so much. So I'm very excited that it's out in the world, and I can't wait for people to read it, and thrilled that it already has so many bookstore fans.
I read it really early, and so I felt like it's been out already. This happens
I
to me a
know.
lot, because I read it a long time ago, and I am this guy, Daniel Kraus. Like, I can't imagine being in his brain,
I know.
because how is that? I feel like it probably is hard for him, like it's just the creativity and the originality and the uniqueness of his work and writing is just, it's like brain on fire type of,
Yes,
and
yes.
that was what I got from Whale Fall. So I was like, oh well, I'm gonna, it's not easy to read, and sometimes it's excruciating actually to read, and
Yeah.
but you stay with him. And I think one of the things to point out about this particular one, Whale Fall, was very personal. It was and kind of singular about this the narrator's relationship with his father, and so it was a lot about fathers and sons, that kind of thing. This is much more, goes outward a lot more and encompasses a lot more, like a general type of feeling about war and that kind of thing, and our relationships with each other. So he's sort of gone from the ultra personal, like literally inside the whale, to
Yeah, yeah.
outside on the battlefield, which is interesting. But you described it really well, how improbable it sounds, to read a one sentence book that's so wild on so many levels, but you but you stay with it. Amanda points out, and I didn't know this, Amanda, so thanks for mentioning it, that he said that Mary Roach is one of his biggest influences. And if
I
you've
didn't know
ever
that
read,
either.
I didn't, yeah, if you, that makes a lot of sense. It is visceral is definitely a good word. It's nothing if not visceral.
Yes,
there's
yes.
there's like
100%.
literal viscera in both books. So yeah, it's a really great book. Oh, he blurbed Mary Roach's upcoming book, Interesting, which also looks really good, and I'm sure we'll talk about at some point as well. So
She's a genius
thanks
as
for that,
well.
Amanda. Yeah. Great.
Yes, oh,
Grady, yeah.
so good. It, like Deborah said, it is a hard read, but it is still fast and propulsive, I want to say.
I never stopped thinking about Whalefall, and people would come into the store and they would pick it up, and I had, it was my staff pick for a while, and I would pick it up and show them, and I'm like, let me I was like, let me tell you about this book. It's gonna sound weird,
Yeah,
And
yeah,
and then I would go on but they were like, oh no, that sounds really good. And you just sort of have to kind of push past your preconceptions of certain
yeah.
things, and then you're in. So
I'm excited to see where his career goes because his first two
yeah,
books have been so
yeah,
impressive. And like also
yeah,
to come out after Wellfall, which was this big, became this big thing, and then to
right.
follow it up with this is really, yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
can't wait.
excited
I can't
what
wait
he
to
does
see the
next.
next one.
Yeah, but yeah, so there it is on sale yesterday.
Great. Thank you, Shannon.
Thank you.
I actually have another one of your books that I'm going to talk about. But it's an older title. And the Booker long list came out today,
Oh,
and
yay. Talk about Flesh. I had an email
well,
open to you and when it was announced and I got sidetracked like
I
submitting some orders or something.
I know I saw, and I was really excited because that he definitely David Zale was a favorite for being on the long list. Hopefully, I mean, he'll be on the short list, and I think it's very deserving of the Booker. But I'm actually not going to talk about Flesh. Um, I'm going to talk about Turbulence, which is the book that he wrote
Oh yeah, yeah. Go.
before Flesh, and this is just one of my favorites. It's a very slim book, and it came between a couple of heavy hitters, between Flesh and What a Man Is. Um, and this is like a little bit different for him. He wrote episodes, and I think it was on BBC, it was on radio, I think it was some sort of episodic way that he wrote it. But the idea here is that they're sort of short pieces. They're all connected by airports. Okay, that's why it's called Turbulence. So each chapter has an airport code, like PDX to LAX, for example, something like that, around the world. So a story starts, and you see a person just either on the plane or getting off a plane or about to um, and you get a little snapshot into their life. And then the next chapter is somebody who was connected to that person. So the person who picks the person up at the airport, or somebody who is connected to the person from the previous story, and there's another airport involved. And in this way, you travel the entire world through these characters and these very short pieces, and you get a sense of the different cultures and the different ways of living of all of these people. But it's really spare, elegant, and while showing the differences in all of these stories, you get to see how interconnected we are as people. And I won't spoil how it does that ultimately. It's They're slight. It's a very thin little book. It's a short book, and all of the pieces are very short. And one of the sort of criticisms of it was that it didn't get too, deeply enough into the individual stories, and there were too many of them. And I think that it really is its beauty. He's such a good writer, that he's able to make these all of these characters and these stories come alive brilliantly in a few really brilliant and colorful brushstrokes. I absolutely fell in love with this book. I did not stop talking about it. It was my staff pick forever. I don't remember. It was a few years ago. It came out in paperback. If you are sort of in a reading drought and you don't feel like taking on a huge, weighty, like maybe you don't feel like diving into Flesh, even though you've heard about it, and you just want, you want something slim and beautiful and sort of ignite your faith in humanity or writing or whatever. That's what it did for me. It's really beautiful. So I am recommending that. And then after you read that, you can dive right into Flesh, which is a genius novel. So that's my pick. And Joey has one now as well that he wants to talk about.
So I have, as soon as wow, got to do a whole lot at the same time.
I know
My first book
they gotta make
is
Joey do double duty here.
do everything I want. My first book is This is How You Lose the Time War by Amal El-Motar and Max Gladstone. Um, it is a very difficult to describe book, but if I was to reduce it to its essential elements, it is about two fighters in a conflict, red and blue. That's what they call each other. One's red, one's blue, and they slowly fall in love through missives left for the other in the battlefield. And it's a short one, it's like not even like maybe 200 pages, and it's just like such a beautiful kind of story in the like their how they fall in love and like the way they talk to each other, because all they can do is communicate through these letters. They can't actually meet because they're enemies, and how that unfolds and plays out, and just how everything goes. It's just such a lovely little book. Highly recommended. And
I've often wondered about this book, Joey. I've seen it in the store all the time, and I've wondered about it and picked it up, and on my very short book kick, because you can read a whole lot of them in a short period of time. And so thank you for talking about it, because now I definitely want to read it.
I'm so glad you picked it, Joey. And thanks, guys, for the SNS extravaganza.
Are we sorry?
So I just want to say that this is it's been a while since this book. I can't remember exactly when it came out. I want to say like 2018 or something. But it's been a minute. But it is one of my
sleeper for a long time.
Yeah, it's been one of my best-selling backlist titles. Like if almost every single account that I go to, this is a staff pick. So it's just one of those beloved by booksellers titles, and it sells. I mean, you would be so surprised by the numbers that these booksellers can move in all of these little stores all over the place.
Yeah.
But we are doing a deluxe edition of this coming in the fall. I know. Joe, look at his eyes. It's so pretty, Joey. If you can find it, you should flash a picture of it later. It looks like it's going to be gorgeous, and it's one of those titles that people love so much that I was talking to a bookseller at a store the other day, and she was like, "I have the hardcover of this, I have the paperback, and I'm going to get the deluxe." It's like one of those kind of reads for people that just stays in their like top 10 favorite books or whatever. So I'm really glad you talked about it, because it is beloved.
Yeah, that's how I feel about Turbulence actually as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I almost want to read like one of the letters, but I feel like that's something that you need to experience maybe.
Yeah.
It's just, or not all the letters. It's like the way they talk to each other as the relationship builds is just such an amazing like process. I don't know. But I found the image, so I'm gonna throw that up, and it's just a sec.
All right.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be really a beautiful, beautiful package. So I'm excited. People are very
gorgeous,
amped about it.
All right. Well, while Joey's doing that, we're gonna go over to Will. So give Will a minute. Oh, that's beautiful. That's gorgeous.
Yeah,
lovely.
Really cool. Really
Look
cool.
at the spreads.
Yes, pre-order now.
Papers. Yeah.
Now I have to get that. There's no
right.
Yeah, of course.
Gotta be. Yeah.
All right.
Buy this book 3 times.
Okay, so this is a change of direction again. So this is another one that I talked about last time, but I do have a tie-in to what seems to be the theme of the day coming up. So my next one is called Bloodied Bodies, Bloody Landscapes, Settler Colonialism and Horror. And I just love the concept of this book. So this is from University of Regina Press, which is distributed in the US by NYU Press, one of mine. And it is an indigenous film critic writing a critique of popular horror films in American history, which is a really rich subject if you stop and think about it, because there's so many horror films. There's a whole chapter in this book that's about white people going into the woods, like getting killed by something because they
Yeah,
don't
I
understand
mean,
what surrounds them. And the title of the chapter is Jason Writes a Land Acknowledgement, which I thought was pretty great. So the tone of the book is really, it's just so much fun. And what I wanted to say is, some of the books that I think are somewhat similar is Men, Women, and Chainsaws. It's about women and gender and horror films. And here we go. One of Shannon's books, The Black Guy Dies First, which I know is a big hit for a lot of indie stores. And that seems like kind of a similar vibe to this one. I just love it. So if you're a fan of like sort of these horror films of the last 50 years, everything from Psycho to The Shining to the Friday the 13th series, Blair Witch Project, Evil Dead, Poltergeist, John Carpenter's The Thing. There's a whole chapter in there about cowboys and the push to sort of dominate the landscape and how that's an ongoing theme in a lot of horror films. It's such an interesting, original, fresh take on these films that if you're a fan of the films or you're kind of curious to see what someone can do with them in this way, I just think it's such a fun book to dig into.
I love everything about this book. It's such I mean, it feels really niche when you keep breaking it down.
Right.
But it makes so much sense.
Right.
The whole topic makes so much sense. I wish we could see inside a little bit, but did you talk about this before? Or you did talk about this one before,
I
right?
did, yeah. I mentioned
yeah.
it that same day. So I do have a galley, but it doesn't actually have any photos in the galley. It's just kind of they left that out. So
yeah. But it does look like such a great book and so interesting, and such a sort of a natural combination of ideas, actually. So that's on sale now, right?
No, that one's I don't think so. It's supposed to be coming in early September, but might be out early.
It'll
it's
it'll be
Canada.
Yeah.
We'll see how that works.
I'm like, yeah, we'll see, but it'll probably be available soon, I think.
Soon,
yeah. Great one. Thank you, Will.
Sure.
All right, Shannon.
Okay, so I have another fun one. This is called The Confessions by Paul Bradley Carr, and it came out, I want to say the 22nd. Was that last week? 2 weeks ago? Time is a blur, friends.
It was 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks
okay.
ago. Yeah.
So Paul, this is fun on multiple levels because Paul is also one of my customers. Paul owns a bookstore in Palm Springs called The Best Bookstore. So he's amazing. And I always love supporting bookseller authors. But Paul, in his previous life, before he was a bookseller, he was like a tech guy in Silicon Valley. So this is an AI thriller, and it is getting great reviews, which is super exciting. But the kind of gist of it is that there's this AI called Liam that is kind of like, think Alexa-ish on steroids. Like, it has really taken hold, and people rely on it for everything. And then Liam goes dark, and then people start receiving letters, which is are sent out by Liam that is like their deepest, darkest secrets to ruin them. So it's this great thriller. It's super readable. It's infused with humor. It really gets like all of the, I feel like, the big moral implications of like AI and where it could go, but also the like, you get an understanding of the whole business of tech and the background and all of these people. Some of the reviews have like nodded to Michael Crichton, which I feel like is very exciting. I don't think that there's been a lot of writers writing in that space right now. So anyways, I loved it. I thought it was super fun. It is awesome. And I feel like it's the kind of thing, like it is AI, but it's very accessible. And yes, it strikes to all of our darkest fears, but in the best way possible. And like once you start it, you really can't put it down. So yeah, that's kind of, well, Out in the World by our friend Paul Bradley Carr.
So this is another one of those books that I haven't stopped talking to people about, and I was
Okay.
and I was really excited. I've been waiting for it to come out. I was like, can I talk about it yet? Can I talk about it yet? Because I read the advanced reader copy on a digital e-galley, and I just flew through it. It is deepest, darkest fear, but it's a cautionary note because the AI here is just basically people stop making any of their own decisions.
Yes.
And they just everything. What should I eat for breakfast? What clothes shall I wear? How do I kill my husband? All of these things, and people just ask Liam all of this. And the thing is that Liam decides I can't take it anymore. The human race sucks, and I'm committing suicide. And that's when Liam sends out all the letters to everybody about all of the things that they've done that people have
Yeah,
told
isn't it
that
fascinating? Like the
people
world
told
becomes paralyzed because they don't
paralyzed.
have anyone to
So what
ask.
am I going to do now? I don't even know. I don't know what to read. I don't know what to. I should I drive? Should I walk? Should I? And that part of it was the part that really hit home the hardest for me because that's where we're headed with this, all of it. I feel anyway. I have feelings about
Yeah,
AI.
I definitely think when you're done with it, you will, and everybody will have
I have
feelings, which is
feelings.
great.
Yeah, I had feelings going into it. Anyway, he tells the story so well, and he's do you cannot not love a bookseller writing a book. That's it's a slam dunk. It's just really well done. It's smart. It doesn't take any easy. A lot of it is action, is a sort of an action as they kind of race against time to, figure it all out and get it all, because of course there's bad guys. Of course there's bad guys. We know there's bad guys. Um, but
Very
but
bad guys.
he does an amazing job with it. There's no cheating with the story or anything. It's great. I can't, and it's quite a thick book, but it reads really fast. I love this book. So
Oh, good.
another.
I'm
I
so
was
glad.
super excited to see you were talking about it. So thank you, Shannon. Um,
Yay.
all right, my second book today is called Flash Out by Alexis Salukis, and that goes on sale Tuesday. And I've kind of been waiting to talk about this one as well. This is a novel. Okay, it involves cults, which is like AI, another thing that I'm talking about for no particular reason. I'm fascinated by all of the cult-oriented, it was sort of cult adjacent. A young woman in college in the early 70s, sort of hungry for experience, finds herself drawn into this they're called the negative theater. They're this experimental avant-garde living theater troupe, and they're kind of people crashing in this um, drug and uh, infused apartment in Manhattan, and she gets drawn into this, the idea of art and experimental art and living art and all of this kind of thing. But of course, it's not what it seems on the surface, and there's sort of a leader, and it's a very cult-like situation. But she gets drawn into this troupe, and they start um, going around the world. Bad things happen, obviously, as they will do. The leader of the group sleeps with all of the young girls for a start, and that's the plus side of the situation. And then, so that one narrative is sort of juxtaposed to her many years, decades in the future, where she's teaching college in California, and she gets contacted by a member. She's completely buried this previous identity she used to have, and all of the secrets that went with it, she thinks, but now she's contacted by somebody threatening to expose her. So they sort of run parallel, these two storylines, and she does an amazing job with it. It's very suspenseful, but what really um, drew me into it is the story of a young person and how easy it is to get drawn into this kind of cult type of situation. Um, how far does what's the difference between manipulation? Are you making your own choices? Is it art, or is it they taking advantage of you, kind of thing? Raises all of these questions about agency and choice and manipulation, and it's all very, it's very psychological, the way the cult works and everything. And I'm reading a lot about this stuff for no particular reason. And I think she did a great job, and it's also a very suspenseful story and well written. So that's out on Tuesday, and highly recommend. So Joey's got another one, I know.
So for my next book, it is going to be an oldie, but and actually one I've talked about in the past. But there is a new deluxe edition of Snow Crash by Neil Stephenson, which
That's beautiful.
is honestly one of my favorite books. Here it is in physical. It's one of my favorite books, probably the book I've read the most of any book. Like, and I tend not to reread books, but I think I'm at like 5 reads of Snow Crash, and I still feel like I can get something new out of it each time I read it. And it's just such a, like, it was written in 1992, and it still feels futuristic and cool and stylish, and one of the, just like, everything that's in there still feels very present and very much like still kind of like people are still trying to catch up with how cool and stylish this book is. And I don't think anybody has really ever done it this way and has ever like really matched it. And you have all like this is the book all the tech guys have read or said they've read, and they try and copy things out of it, but they just can't do it because they don't have the sauce, and because the sauce is in the book. And so it is about a dude whose name is hero protagonist, which is a bold move, but I feel works for him. And he is one of the architects of the metaverse, which is super internet. This, even though this was written before the internet was a thing, it's like he's one of like the founding hackers that made this networked reality a thing. And um, he is top dog. He's top dog in the metaverse, and he's like the top of the leaderboard. Everyone knows him. He's famous, and in real life, he delivers pizza and lives in a shipping container that overlooks LAX. And so, like, the metaverse isn't necessarily a good thing, but it is what the thing everyone has to interface with to interact and make their way in the world. And at the same, there's other characters, but it's mostly hero story. And it's just it's got like attitude is like the best way to put it, is how every word is just like dripping with a like a like a fuck you attitude kind of thing of like, this is the future and this is what we're doing. Even though the future that it depicts is not a good one, and actually really bleak and kind of crazy bad, but it's at the same time it's just uh, cool and fun. And that's where I'll leave it without explaining the entire rest of the book. But yeah.
This is such a beautiful, I haven't seen this new edition.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
gorgeous.
Well,
Yeah,
I
really
forgot to
beautiful.
mention, because it's because of the deluxe edition, because it was the 25th anniversary of it, or 30th, 25th, whatever. Um, that there's some bonus content in here, and there's a new foreword by Neil Stephenson, but also some extra content that didn't actually make it into the book, and stuff he wrote for this edition that have like, there's like a little bit of like stuff that like missives and things like that that were not in the original text, and expand on a little bit on some characters that only got like a couple lines of screen time, and were actually very much more important to the narrative, blah 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 blah. So it is, if you have read it, it's very much worth picking up this one to read the extra stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the multiple copies of the same book we're back more. Gorgeous. Thank you, Joey. Excellent.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, Will.
Okay, so my next book is one that's kind of been there's been a lot of recent enthusiasm from certain people about this one, so I'm excited to talk about it. It is a great title, Fearless, Sleepless, Deathless, and the subtitle is What Fungi Taught Me About Nourishment, Poison, Ecology, Hidden Histories, Zombies, and Black Survival. So let that sink in. So this is a book by Maria Pinto, who's from Jamaica originally and now lives in New England, and it is absolutely beautifully written, and it's just a joy to work with this book. So I think it's going to be a really exciting thing that's going to find a great audience. You probably can't read it, but there's a great blurb from Ross Gay on the jacket that says, "I've rarely encountered such beautiful writing. I rarely have encountered such a beautiful book." So that's pretty high praise. And my counterpart in the Northeast, Connor, was a really enthusiastic supporter of this book kind of early on. I just got this galley on Monday, so I started reading it last night. And I can see why, because it's so beautifully written. And what she does is just kind of looks at the idea of the mushroom and its importance and where it comes from and the history of it and all of this, and then connects it to the experience of being a Black American and also just the history of the Caribbean, all this stuff about, the idea of foraging for food, this thing that sort of grows naturally and comes out of nowhere, the medicinal uses of it, the poison uses of it, the concept, the folklore surrounding zombies in that part of the country, which is part of the subtitle. I mean, she goes in so many different directions with it, and it's just a fascinating book that I think, if you're someone who has been looking at some of the recent books on mushrooms, like the Anna Singh Mushroom at the End of the World, which has been such an indie hit, this will definitely appeal to you. If I can, I just wanted to read one little section from this. This is in the introduction, and one of the things that she does is to talk about the idea of mushrooms as just being something that doesn't really need us. And there's a little quote from Emerson at the beginning of the book that says, most plants, they need some care. You have to plant them and water them and give them nourishment and take care of them in a certain way before they produce fruit. Whereas a mushroom just grows on its own. It doesn't need us. And so that's the Emerson comment about fearless, sleepless, deathless is actually from that. But in the introduction, she writes about the concept of family trees and how for non-Black people, everyone who's not Black, we tend to think of our lineage through this tree system. But if you're a Black American and you come from this very fractured background where you were forced into, your ancestors were forced into slavery, they were moved around, families were separated. It's a different kind of, you may not think of it in terms of a tree the way that other people do, but you might think of it the way that mushrooms grow. And I thought that was such a beautiful metaphor. So I just wanted to read this little part. So, plenty of the material conditions and habits of thought that root and connect people to things and to one another on this planet can feel somewhat notional to me, a neurodivergent, naturalized U.S. citizen from the Caribbean and a descendant of enslaved people. I've lived my life within an epistemological framework in which those to the center of the earth roots were for others, not me. And since my family tree came from a clear-cut forest, I would of necessity be relegated to a surface kind of existence. But the more I learn about the ancient origins and tantalizing futurity of fungi, their centrality to the healthy ecosystems and their adaptability, about their potential for earthly and mental remediation, the more I realize that my kinship lines feel more mycenial than tree-like, that, like fungi, the stuff I've been made of, the stuff we're all made of, has the power to move in darkness, to thrive undetected, to quietly work until such a time that there's nothing left to do but bear fruit. Isn't that beautiful?
Beautiful. That's gorgeous.
And just last
Yeah.
week, it was given a great review in Publishers Weekly, where the reviewer compared her to Annie Dillard and Jamaica Kincaid. So that's pretty high praise too. So this
I
is
love
coming
the,
out.
yeah, I love the, I'm sorry, go ahead, Will.
I was going to say it's coming out in October, so it'll be there.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah,
October. Oh,
down the way.
no, we have to wait.
Yeah.
I don't want to. I feel like there have been so many, not only mushroom oriented books, but also like fungi and neurodivergence in combination. There, I mean, that's an idea, and there have been more than one book combining these things, but this one looks particularly beautifully written.
Mhm.
Yeah, and also stringing together a lot of things that make sense going together, actually, if you know anything about them.
Right.
I can't wait. Looks great.
Thanks.
Thank you, Will.
Mhm.
We'll have to talk about it again.
Yes, for sure.
All right, Shannon.
Okay, I'm going to talk about a book that came out in paperback a few months ago. I want to say March, but it was one of my favorites when it came out last year. It's called Clear by Carys Davies. I don't know if you ever read this one, Deborah, or did I?
Loved
I don't.
it. I
Oh,
picked it. I
so
picked it for book club.
oh yay! I don't remember if I talked about it on Elevenses when it came out or not, but I feel like I'm hoping it has a long life in paper because it just really was one of my favorite books of last year, and it's such a like spare jewel box. I feel like of a novel. It's short, which I loved, but her prose is so beautifully done, and that I just couldn't get enough of it. The premise is it's set during the Scottish clearances, which I did not know really much about in my hole in my history, but it's about a minister who, like an impoverished minister, who accepts this job of evicting the lone inhabitant of a island off the coast, off the north coast, the lone inhabitant, as for money, and he's trying to start his own ministry. And then it's also told from the perspective of Ivor, who is the inhabitant of the island, who's lived there alone, basically with just like the sheep on the island, and speaks like a dialect that is not known to many people anymore. And then the minister's wife, who has serious misgivings about her husband going on this mission. And right in the at the beginning, I'm not going to spoil anything. When the minister gets there, he slips on a rock and falls and becomes unconscious, and then he is taken in by Ivor, the island's inhabitant. And it's just like what follows is this beautifully told, tender story, but I don't want to say it's thriller, but like you're still racing to the end because there's this like to find out what's going to happen. I don't even, that's probably a terrible way to describe it. But I just loved it so much. Like if you're a historical fiction fan, I think that it's for you. If you just want like a tender story about the power of relationships. And if you just, I mean, for the pure beauty of her writing, I think is another reason, but it packs a powerful punch. So I'm excited that it's here in paper book now. And glad to hear you did it for your book club.
And everybody I know who's read it absolutely loves it, across all kinds of different readers.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that she does so brilliantly here is that these two people can't communicate with each other. They don't have a common language. So, and he can't, the minister can't tell Ivor why he's there. Ivor can't explain what his life is either, or talk to this guy about how to handle things. And then she develops the way they start being able to communicate with each other, and the sort of bond that develops between the two of them. It's amazingly well done. So it's a really beautiful, beautiful book. And like I said, everybody I know who's read it, all kinds of different readers, really, really love it. So well worth picking up in paperback.
Yeah, yeah. It's a little gem that I
Yeah,
think didn't get enough attention. So I'm excited that it will be and quick read. But
yeah,
God,
yeah,
worth every sentence. It's
yeah,
beautiful.
absolutely. Thank you, Shannon. All right, we have a bonus round because just the two of you guys. So today, so we've you have very kindly picked a bonus book. So let's hear it, Will.
Okay. All right. So my bonus book, I'm very excited about this, is coming out in paperback eventually. This will be out in October or so in paper. This is the hardcover. It is
Mm,
Serpent, Siren, Maelstrom, and Myth, Sea Stories and Folk Tales from Around the World. This is from the University of Washington Press that distributes for the British Library. So the book is actually published and printed by the British Library. It's an import. So they did this about a year and a half ago, and they're bringing out a paperback edition, which I was very surprised and happy to see because they've not been doing paperbacks of these. And they've had a few of these books that they've done that Washington has distributed. And unfortunately, what happens is they do all the printing, they ship them over, and when they're gone, they're gone. So that's
right.
kind of it. So very exciting that there's going to be a paperback of this. So the concept is it's exactly what the subtitle says. It's sea stories and folk tales from around the world, the actual tales, but the book is beautifully illustrated with images of things that are in the British Library. So you have like spreads that look like this throughout. It's really incredible. And one of the things that strikes me is how international it is. Like here's some things from Southeast Asia. The folk tales are sort of separated out by topic. So there's a section on gods and monsters. There's stuff about voyages. There's a lot of things like this that's about like Scandinavian folk tale kind of things like that. There's a whole region, a whole section on mythical creatures. There's some really beautiful, fabulous beasts. That's one of the sections. So it looks like that. So the book is really, I mean, it's just so beautiful. And the stories themselves are really well told as well. Here's some different drawings too. So I think, you know, for anybody who's close to the water, which we all are, or interested in this kind of folk tales of the sea from around the world, I think this is just going to be a wonderful book to have. It'll be out probably around Halloween, and it's going to be $24.95. So it'll be quite a good price for the paperback.
I have actually a few British Library editions of various books. They always do the most gorgeous, beautiful books that you can't, if you pick up one of these books, you end up buying it because they're
Yeah.
so beautiful. And when you alerted me to this one in hardcover, and I got a copy, and it's gorgeous. But really nice to have it coming in paperback. And what a great gift, perfect time, and a little more affordable than the hardcover. But definitely, I would recommend picking this up for sure. It's like a slam dunk. You can buy it for a gift and keep it for yourself. That's
Right.
one of those kind of
Exactly.
situations.
If no one
Um,
you have on your list is deserving, you can just keep it.
yeah, exactly. Great. Thank you, Will. All right,
Sure.
Shannon, why don't we wrap it up for the day with the your last book?
Okay, I'm going to bring it home with the kids' book because you gave me a bonus round. So, this is one of my favorites on our summer list. It came out a couple months ago, I want to say, or last month. It's called Growing Home by Beth Ferry, with these beautiful spot illustrations by the Fan Brothers, who are some of my favorite illustrators today. Oh,
So
isn't
great.
it cute?
It's so
So
great.
it's about a family that's living in Tupper Lane, and but the really stars of the show are the goldfish that the houseplant ivy, and a little spider with a broken leg who lives in the desk. And there's like a slightly magical element to the story as they kind of join forces to save the family from somebody who's trying to swindle their antique business. So it's just one of these really charming, delightful read alouds. I think it's a perfect family read aloud for people who love. There was a book a while ago called The Story of Diva and Flea by Mo Willems that I was like one of those um, great like gap filler books, like when your kids have aged out of those level readers but they're not ready for a long book without pictures. It's funny and sweet, and I think we say ages 6 to 9, but really, an attentive 4 or 5 year old could read or sit through a chapter at a time, and I think it could go all the way up to 10. So yeah, a great special. And Beth Ferry is a very prolific children's picture book author as well, and I know she has a lot of fans. So it's just really one of my favorite on the list, and so sweet and a good gift to give. And I love that it feels like I hate to like pigeonhole like boys or girls books, but I feel like people still really do, and I feel like this is yes, I feel like this one is just a perfect to give to really anybody. And like, yes, the goldfish is obsessed with cheese puffs, which is my favorite part of the book.
I do love the books though that are just for anybody, for any kid, because it's not you often hear, well, I can't get him a book that has princesses on the cover, or it's about soccer, so whatever. But this art, the Fan Brothers, I am a fan of the Fan Brothers.
Oh,
It's so adorable. It's so so beautifully done, and it just draws you right in. Such an adorable book. Really, really great.
yes. I think yes, perfect for so many different people, like I said. And one of those things that I think ages like you can read over and over again. But I just I remember I miss so much doing those family read alouds where you can have, multiple kids actually of different ages sitting through the same story. It's nice when
Yeah.
you have something that checks that box.
And I just have been reading lately, and I'm glad you mentioned the read aloud thing, that parents reading to their kids less and less, and kids reading less and less. And so we will continue to buck that trend with
For
everything we have.
sure.
Yes. So thank you for talking about a kid's book, Shannon. That's a great way to end. And thank you, everybody, today for such amazing, what a wealth of fabulous books today. Um, Thank you so much, Will Gawronski from Columbia University Press Consortium, and Shannon Grant from Simon & Schuster. And Joey, thank you very much for doing double duty. And thanks, everybody, for joining us this week as we dive into all of these fabulous books. I'm like, where do you start, right? Luckily, I've read a lot of them already, so I haven't added too much to the list. We will be back again next week. We will have more books to talk about, more reps, and more fun to be had. So hope you will come back and join us then. And in the meantime, everybody, stay cool, stay dry from waves that might be washing the shore. And stay reading, because that's the best thing you can possibly do at this point, I think. So we look forward to seeing you all next week. Thanks, everybody.